Right now at 5. Should he stay or should he go? We talked to voters deciding the fate of a San Francisco supervisor.
Some people feel frustrated by changes that have happened in the neighborhood, and they want someone to blame, and they feel angry about that, and so they're pouring their anger into this recall.
Temperatures climb across the Bay Area, even in the city. The risks from our hot and dry conditions. He brings lowriders to life with every stroke of his airbrush.
It's over 100 cars. Like every single car is like I say, is different.
Meet the man whose art is not hung up on walls, it cruises down Mission Street. And a big milestone for one of our animal neighbors.
Claude has become this massive icon to the San Francisco community. Everyone loves him and his story.
How fans young and old are celebrating 30 years of this unique alligator.
CBS News Bay Area Evening Edition with Ryan Yamamoto.
Well, we begin in San Francisco, where voters in the Sunset District are deciding whether their supervisor will keep his job. Voting in the recall of Joel Engardio ends tomorrow. That recall sparked an emotional debate, much of it centered around the conversion of the upper grade highway into a park called Sunset Dunes. Engardio's support for that closure sparked a fierce backlash. Lauren Tom spoke to voters as we wrap up what has been a very contentious campaign.
On the edge of San Francisco, where the Pacific Ocean meets the Sunset District, a stretch of road has been transformed into Sunset Dunes Park. It's become a way of life for nearby residents like Heidi Moseson and her family.
What a beautiful thing that we get a space of community and active recreation and transport and a place to run into your neighbors. And our kids can bike here safely and play after school. It's just such a wonderful thing and really opens up the coast.
But behind the strides and pedal strokes, this park marks the ignition of a political firestorm. Sunset Dunes was created after the approval of Prop K, a ballot measure that passed citywide with 54% of the vote. Yet here in District 4, nearly 2/3 of voters opposed it. Supervisor Joel Engardio backed the plan anyways, a decision that helped trigger a recall election that could cost him his job.
Candidly, I did not vote for Joel the first time when he ran, but as a constituent who lives here in D4 and who has just absolutely loved having this park, it's totally transformed the feel of the neighborhood and in a positive way and changed the way my family gets around. I was so impressed by Joel in the way he took a hard position.
Critics say that decision to take the hard position came at the expense of listening to his own neighbors. More than 12,000 signatures were gathered to put this recall on the ballot.
I'm not an anti-park person. I love parks. I just think if we're going to build a park, we should consider how we're going to take care of it. And if there are impacts to doing that, let's mitigate those ahead of time and be honest about it.
Richard Correa, a retired San Francisco police captain whose family has lived on the west side for generations, says the park has brought unintended consequences to public safety.
Because 20,000 cars a day cannot be diverted into neighborhoods without an impact. And that's the biggest thing that should have been mitigated beforehand.
For many, Prop K was just the beginning. The real issue, they say, is whether West Side residents have a strong enough voice in decision-making at City Hall.
It's not Prop K. It's the lack of identifying the impacts of Prop K and mitigating them ahead of time.
For Heidi, the recall is also about more than a park. She sees it as a test of whether leaders can still take risks for the city and their neighbors' future.
I really hope whatever happens with this recall that our other leaders will continue to put the best interests of the city, keep them in mind when they're making their decisions and not be trying to constantly please everyone or avoid making someone mad so that they don't get recalled.
And Supervisor Engardio released a statement that said in part, recalls should be reserved for corruption or impropriety, not policy disagreements on a single issue. Voters just elected me 3 years ago, and they'll have their chance to weigh in again next year. If the recall is successful, Mayor Daniel Lurie would appoint a temporary replacement. Voters would then pick a new District 4 supervisor next June, the city's next scheduled election, then again a few months later in November. Well, a teenager has died after falling from an on-ramp in Crockett during a sideshow. The Highway Patrol says 16-year-old Jose Cuevas from Southern California fell about 75 feet after climbing over a concrete safety barrier that was on Pomona Street on-ramp to I-80. We do have video from that night showing people jumping between the east and westbound ramps. This was around 3:30 in the morning on Saturday. The Highway Patrol says there were about 100 cars at the sideshow. Vince Gordon lives in Crockett. He was woken up by this sideshow and he called police.
It's just an unfortunate situation. I mean, they come up here, they think that everything's going to be okay and it's a great time, but it's pretty dangerous.
Well, Gordon says the sideshows have been happening at that intersection for about 6 years. Small earthquake rattling Contra Costa County today. Did you feel it? The magnitude 3.5 was centered just east of Clayton in the Black Diamond Mines Regional Preserve. No reports of any damage or injuries. And dangerous heat returning to the Bay Area this week, and even San Francisco is not immune, with temperatures well into the 80s in some places today. This was the scene just a little while ago at the Mexican Independence Day celebration at Civic Center Plaza. That sun really just beating down on all those people out there. Here's a live look from the Mount Diablo camera. Tomorrow is expected to be even hotter in some parts of Contra Costa County. Let's check in with First Alert meteorologist Zoe Mintz with the look at the forecast.
Yeah, I mean, just that camera from on top of Mount Diablo, it looked hot out there. It looked steamy, and it is. Those temperatures today, they were in the 90s, especially compared to the mid to lower 80s that you felt yesterday. Anywhere from a couple of degrees warmer than 24 hours ago along our coastal communities to upwards of 10 to 15 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago inland. So again, it was hot out there. Our maximum temperatures peaked in the 90s inland, upper 80s for areas by the bay and across our North Bay, and then downtown San Francisco. This is what I want to point out, because 85 degrees as our high temperature today, this was easily our hottest temperature of 2025, and it's actually been the hottest temperature that we have felt in nearly a year in downtown. So if you thought it was hot today, you were right, and again, it is only going to get hotter and hotter from here. I'll break down the details on how hot it's going to get and when some relief might be on the way, along with a little bit of rain. Yeah, you heard me right. Rain potentially in our future. All things I'll break down coming up in my full forecast. Back to you, Ryan.
All right, thanks, Zoe. Well, the Golden State Valkyries are letting their hometown pride fly high. The team's president and mascot raised the Valks flag. This is at Oakland City Hall to celebrate their historic season. The team kicked off their playoff run yesterday, where hundreds of fans watched the game from Thrive City. The Valkyries face the number 1 seed Minnesota Lynx in Minnesota. And while the Valks started the game hot, ultimately Minnesota showed why they are the top team, beating Golden State by 29 points. The fans haven't given up hope in this series. It's best of 3, and the next game brings the Valkyries back to the Bay.
This was a blip, right? Now they know what they need to do. We won't get spanked like this again.
I'm still feeling great. I can't wait to watch them come play at home. We'll be at SOP on Wednesday. It's going to be so much fun anyway.
Well, that excitement continues Wednesday night when the Valkyries bring Bahala to San Jose's SAP Center in a win-or-go-home game. Hey, the Niners off to a perfect start thanks to some unheralded names stepping up in a very big way. Vern Glenn joins us now. And Vern, the Niners' depth really showing off this week.
Ryan, you got Sports Street cred, so you know what they say. Next man up. That's the mentality that the Niners have to embrace. It hasn't looked pretty, but the 49ers can still point at that scoreboard and see a record of 2-0. The Niners ended Sunday's game against the Saints when Bryce Huff forced a fumble in the final minute. The second straight week, San Francisco clinched victory with a forced fumble. The 2 wins have come by a combined 9 points, but both wins have come on the road, and the team is still unbeaten despite injuries to some of their biggest stars.
It's awesome, however you do it. To be 2-0, it all counts the same. Yes, we did have to overcome a number of injuries. I was real proud of the guys doing it.
In the past, seems like we find a way to lose, and 2 games like this, dogfights, to start the year and just closing it on defense, there's no better feeling.
The Vegas line has moved. The 49ers are a slight favorite in the home opener with the Cardinals. So think of the wonders that the 3-touchdown game did for Mac Jones' confidence and the team's confidence in number 10.
And home cooking is going to taste so good.
Oh, we'll see.
All right, thanks, Vern. Well, still ahead at 5, a major defeat for Governor Newsom as he pushes the controversial Delta Tunnel project. We're going to hear from the people caught in the middle of this political tug of war.
It just seems ridiculous to take from something that is a fragile environment. There has to be other options.
And the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk putting a spotlight on political violence in the U.S. We're going to hear from the professor behind a disturbing new study on that subject. Plus, we take you to the Bay Area's newest park.
The view is just spectacular, and this is the perfect place to put it.
Where you'll find these stunning views of the city by the bay. While investigators have not released a motive in the Charlie Kirk shooting, some details of the suspect's life now being revealed. The suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, was captured on Friday after his family urged him to surrender to authorities. On Fox News today, FBI Director Kash Patel said that Robinson subscribed to left-wing ideology and may have even written a threat.
The suspect wrote a note saying, "I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." That note was written before the shooting.
Robinson is expected to appear in court tomorrow. A new study out of UC Davis draws some interesting conclusions about political violence. In 2023, more than a quarter of people polled had hateful feelings about homosexuality and supported the use of political violence to prevent political gains. For them, that same study then showed nearly 20% of people supported the hatred of other races, while 17% were openly transphobic and supported similar outcomes. We spoke to a professor, Garen Whittemute, about the findings behind that study.
Our interest has been in identifying factors associated with being more supportive of political violence, being more willing to commit political violence. We found groups of people, 25% of whom said, "I'll shoot somebody."
Well, researchers believe that the prevention efforts directed to individuals with those beliefs could be helpful in lessening the risk of political violence, and that even though these numbers are startling, it is worth noting that the vast majority of Americans do not support political violence. A more aggressive approach to tackling Oakland's homeless problem now getting some pushback. Advocates gathered outside of City Hall today, protesting Councilmember Ken Houston's proposed encampment abatement policy. Houston's plan would allow the city to close camps without notice. Offers of shelter would be made available but not required, and vehicles in violation could be towed. Those who return to reestablish a camp within 2 months could be cited or arrested. We heard from one man who's been displaced by sweeps saying they are violent.
I've had an RV, and it was just hard enough moving around. Not to mention how much money that it took me to scrape and save to buy it. They stripped it away from me twice, and I was displaced. You know where I went? I went straight to the streets because I didn't have anywhere else to go.
Councilmember Houston says his plan is in line with last year's Supreme Court ruling, which allows cities to prohibit camping and sleeping on public property. In San Francisco, people are flocking to a brand new waterfront park on Treasure Island. A river cutting for the Cityside Park was held over the weekend. The park is the first thing ferry passengers will encounter after getting off a Treasure Island. Visitors say the views of the San Francisco skyline are stunning. That includes Rose Lowe, who came from Yerba Buena Island to check out the new space.
The view is just spectacular, and this is the perfect place to put it because it's not obstructed by anything. You have a clear view, get to see the whole city. You get to see the Golden Gate. Yeah. You've got the wind that we love.
Well, the park will eventually expand to include Treasure Island's entire western edge. And well, at least over the weekend, it was a little more cloudy in San Francisco. But today, much different story.
A perfect day to go to a water park or to maybe cool down in any way you can, because yeah, that was most of us trying to find ways to cool down because plenty of sunshine out there across the Bay Area. I have to show you a really cool time lapse from on top of Black Mountain because there was some fog earlier this morning, but that fog did absolutely nothing when it came to keeping our temperatures more comfortable. That fog quickly cleared. And it looks hot out there. It looks a little hazy as well because of all that heat that is settling in and that very, very dry air as well. This is our view over the Golden Gate Bridge where, yes, a little bit of fog is actually still sticking around the Marin Headlands, but other than that, it's very dry out there and a lot warmer than yesterday. In fact, downtown San Francisco, We made it to the mid-80s. Now we're back into the mid-70s, but it's still warm this evening with a lot of sunshine out there. Inland communities are still sitting in the 90s right now, and by tomorrow at this time, we're actually going to be a few degrees warmer, if you can believe it. So I want you all to be prepared for that. The heat is going to stick around into tomorrow afternoon. In fact, if not get even more unbearable across our inland communities. We'll be right on the cusp of that triple-digit mark, anywhere from 97, 98 in places like Livermore, Antioch, up to Fairfield, and even including Concord. Down into the Santa Clara Valley, we'll be in the mid to potentially upper 90s as well, and mid to lower 90s to maybe upper 80s across our North Bay communities. San Francisco, we might not be in the mid 80s tomorrow, but we still right on the edge of that 80-degree mark. It is going to be another day of nearly 10 degrees above average temperatures. In our coastal communities in the mid 70s, likely going to be seeing a little bit more sunshine. By Wednesday, we are still expecting that heat to stick around across our inland communities. We'll be again right on the edge of that triple-digit mark across those inland East Bay communities, still sitting in the mid to lower 90s down into the Santa Clara Valley and across our North Bay. But it's the coast that is going to begin to feel slightly cooler temperatures as onshore winds are going to begin to pick up as soon as late Wednesday. And by Thursday, a big temperature cool down will be heading our way. Temperatures will come crashing as soon as Thursday, and it's actually all thanks to a tropical storm that is currently off the coast of Mexico. This is Tropical Storm Mario right now. This same storm system is going to continue to make its way up the west coast of the United States. It's going to weaken as it does so, obviously, but that moisture is eventually going to be reaching us here in the Bay Area and bringing us the potential of a few showers and also the potential of some dry lightning. That's kind of going to be the biggest issue because, as you can see, that moisture really fizzles out as it heads up north. As it makes its way over the Sierra, there is going to be more dry lightning potential. That will likely be on Friday over the Sierra, but maybe even over the Santa Cruz Mountains if you don't see any rainfall with the system and you just see that thunderstorm activity. Again, all eyes are going to be on fire danger Thursday and Friday. Even though our temperatures are going to be cooler, it's because of that dry lightning potential. So it really all depends what days you have plans, how you want to prepare for them. Because again, we are expecting the heat to stick around through the midweek, but temperatures dropping by about 10 degrees into Thursday and then continuing to cool down into Friday, along with the little chance for some rain. San Jose also going to be seeing those temperatures crashing Thursday and into Friday. And San Francisco going to be back into the low 70s by the end of the week. Still around normal for this time of year, not a huge cool down, but there is the potential for a few isolated showers to get squeezed out from that system. That's going to keep those temperatures again in the low 80s across our inland areas Thursday and into Friday of this upcoming week, warming back up to slightly above average again, kind of a roller coaster of weather on the way. Overall, though, if you live along the coast, enjoy the sunshine tomorrow and Wednesday while you can, because you're going to likely see some rain showers starting on Thursday. Back to you, Ryan.
All right, thanks, Zoe. Well, Bay Area coffee chain has become a constant target for break-ins. Still ahead of 5, we talked to a co-founder about how they're trying to make their stores less attractive to thieves. Plus, San Francisco's famous albino alligator is marking a major milestone. We take you to today's big celebration as Claude, there he is, turns 30. Well, it was a very special celebration for one of San Francisco's most iconic animals. Claude, the albino alligator, officially turned 30 years old today. The San Francisco Public Library celebrated with a storytime reading of The Curious Color of Claude, read by the alligator's main caretaker. Kids got a chance to meet Claude the mascot, and in honor of his birthday, the library released a special edition library card. Over the weekend, though, the California Academy of Sciences threw him a big birthday party. Our Lorene Ayub looks at his legacy right here in the city.
In the still waters of this indoor swamp, a rare and otherworldly creature glides just beneath the surface. Claude, an albino alligator and one of the most beloved residents of San Francisco's California Academy of Sciences, is celebrating a milestone few of his kind ever reach, his 30th birthday. He's watched over by a team of expert caretakers, including biologists, Jessica Witherly.
All of our animal care biologists take care of different animals here. So some days I'm looking at starfish with a microscope, and other days I am climbing into this pit and feeding cod with my other caretakers.
The Cal Academy of Sciences is home to over 38,000 live animals, but none quite like Claude, whose rare condition makes him one of a kind.
Claude has become this massive icon to the San Francisco community. Everyone loves him and his story. He's got 2 children's books, and we get news articles or info from kids across the United States saying how much they love Claude. So he's kind of become this iconic character.
Born without melanin, Claude's brilliant white appearance is the result of albinism, a genetic trait that would make survival in the wild nearly impossible. But here in San Francisco, as a rescue, Claude is not just surviving, he's thriving.
He would not survive in the wild as an ambush predator, and then everyone would be able to see him. They'd unfortunately eat him, and also he would get sunburned and turn into a very uncomfortable pink alligator.
From regular health checkups to gentle scrubs, Claude receives the kind of care that ensures a life as relaxed as his temperament.
He's a very calm guy. A lot of people don't think he's real because he doesn't move that much. But I've never been scared. Luckily, at the Cal Academy, we train our staff and have tons of opportunities, so we feel very confident and comfortable whenever we're working with our animals.
And although Claude may be a little bit different, here in the Bay Area, he's right at home.
Okay, let's give you, there he is, a live pic of the birthday boy. That's how I know Claude. He never moves. We're taking a look at the Claude Cam courtesy of the California Academy of Sciences. Up next, we're going to take you to a small Northern California town at the center of a very big battle.
People are aware that it would be bad for the environment, for the property, the land, and the tourism that comes out here.
We talked to residents about the fight against the Delta Tunnel project, which just got a huge boost. And a popular South Bay coffee chain forced to make some drastic action after constant break-ins. The co-founder tells us how it's impacting their business and their employees. Plus,
my favorite part is when they take our cars to the shows and then winning trophies.
we'll meet a Bay Area man who turns lowriders into rolling works of art. Right now at 5:30, a murky future for the controversial Delta Tunnel project after another major setback. The California legislature refusing to cast a vote on the plan before their session ended over the weekend. John Ramos spoke to opponents of the project about their fight to protect Delta waters.
Gavin Newsom tried to fast-track the Delta Conveyance project so that it could be fully entitled and ready to go by the time he leaves the governor's chair. But now that that effort has stalled in the legislature, it's raising questions about when or if the project will be built.
Ileton sits frozen in time, a relic from the Old West past. It may be a little quiet these days, but it's no ghost town yet. It all depends on the river that runs alongside the town.
Well, the history of Ileton is really deep in the river. Ileton used to be the main stop on the steamboat between Sacramento and San Francisco, so it has a long history of depending on the traffic on the river.
Iva Walton owns the Meiwa Beer Room, a former Chinese saloon and brothel in the 1800s. The whole town relies on people visiting the Delta, and the proposal to bury a giant tunnel to siphon off billions of gallons of water farther up the Sacramento River to send to Southern California cities and Central Valley farms has drawn the ire of many people living along the Delta.
I think in general people are aware that it would be bad for the environment, for the property, the land, and the tourism that comes out here. If the tunnels were to drain a lot of the water from here, it just seems ridiculous to take from something that is a fragile environment. There has to be other options.
Still, Governor Newsom has made it his key climate resilience initiative.
One of the most important projects in the United States of America.
In his May budget revise, he included a pair of bills that would make things go faster by exempting it from CEQA, simplifying permitting, allowing the state to acquire land, authorizing bonds to pay for the project, and limiting future legal challenges to the tunnel. His office released a statement saying, quote, "For too long, attempts to modernize our critical water infrastructure have stalled in endless red tape, burdened with unnecessary delay. We're done with barriers. Our state needs to complete this project as soon as possible so that we can better store and manage water to prepare for a hotter, drier future. Let's get this built.
Barriers are put in its way, those barriers being the state's laws that everyone else needs to comply with. But the governor seems determined to try and circumvent those laws to get his tunnel built.
John Rosenfield is with San Francisco Baykeeper, one of the groups opposing the tunnel for the damage they think it would inflict on already faltering fish populations downstream in the Delta. But he thinks it is the project's whopping price tag that caused legislators to let the bills die without a vote.
I think it means there's not a lot of support for the Delta Conveyance project. I think the majority party, which is the governor's own party in the legislature, is rightfully concerned about the cost of living, and taking on another $60 to $100 billion project that doesn't really address our problems that would still require yet more money to address is not a winning proposition at this time or ever.
It's also not a winning proposition in Isleton, where protecting the river is considered vital.
It's an amazing place, and I would hate to see it go away.
The project will have to undergo the normal approval process, at least for now. There are major political forces at work from people who aren't accustomed to taking no for an answer.
Well, this fight actually goes back decades. Governor Jerry Brown put an unsuccessful ballot measure before voters back in 1982, and Arnold Schwarzenegger revived the project when he became governor. Well, the city of San Francisco has done the math to figure out how much the Trump administration's tariffs will cost people living in the city. The comptroller's office says the average San Francisco household could expect to lose $5,600 for the next year for the next 20 years. The study looked at projected inflation and job loss, but it calculated the numbers as if interest rates stayed the same. Well, a coffee chain based in San Jose is going cashless after suffering 3 break-ins last month alone. Voyager Coffee has 6 locations in Santa Clara County, has been a popular spot for thieves, suffering nearly 24 break-ins over the last decade. Samir Shah, Voyager's co-founder, says that his employees' safety is their top priority.
The biggest thing for us was keeping our team safe. Their safety was paramount, their sense of well-being was paramount. We made the tough decision to say, hey, you know what, we're just gonna go cashless and make it a super big disincentive for anybody to even want to break into our shops.
Voyager will still accept cash payments through the end of September. After that, only credit, debit, and payment apps like Venmo will be accepted. Next at 5, she's held some of the top jobs in California politics. Now Toni Atkins wants to be your next governor.
I'm a rule follower by nature, but at the same time, I really think everything is at stake here.
Why she says her experience makes her the choice to lead our state through tumultuous times. Plus, it's next man up for the 49ers. We're going to hear from the team as the backups lead the way to a road win. Well, we got new information on the fatal stabbing in San Francisco last week. Robert Byrd II was killed after picking up his son from school last Wednesday. Well, today, San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins announced that her office is filing murder charges against 42-year-old Daniel Patrick Rodriguez Jr. Rodriguez had initially evaded police, but investigators were able to track him down in Tuolumne County. He's now facing 1 count of murder and 1 count of child endangerment and will be arraigned tomorrow afternoon. CBS News California investigators continuing our series introducing you to the people who want to be your next governor. California correspondent Julie Watts sat down with 11 candidates who have thrown their hats into the ring so far.
The positions that you held, you probably have had more power than the governor.
Oh, golly.
And you know, with great power comes great responsibility. What's that like for you?
Well, I was going to say I am addicted to responsibility. I always felt the responsibility, and there were always consequences for what you did.
Well, each night, Julie brings you one question, one candidate to give you the early insight into who they are and why they want to represent you. Tonight, she sits down with Toni Atkins.
Toni Atkins is one of the high-profile Democrats running to replace California Governor Gavin Newsom when he terms out next year. She lives in San Diego. She was previously Speaker of the California Assembly and the leader of the state Senate. She says she's running for governor because, quote, she believes in California's promise, but too many people are struggling to thrive, and that must change. We sat down with each candidate for an in-depth interview covering all the issues that matter to you. But we began by asking what they think our current governor and legislature did right and what they would have done differently. That's one question with Toni Atkins.
When the Republicans and when President Trump asked Texas to find seats, Gavin, our governor, did not miss a beat. He's going toe-to-toe on this with the redistricting. And while I think California is the gold standard of the commission, and we will have to go back to that, I believe that he stood up for California values. You know, I'm a rule follower by nature. My spouse tells me that. My family's all military. But at the same time, I really think everything is at stake here. An abortion ban across the country. Marriage equality.
And would California politicians really allow that to happen here? I think that it can be a talking point, but I do want to push back on that. Realistically, for voters sitting at home, our Constitution won't allow an abortion ban in California, and our legislature, especially our supermajority legislature, could easily protect same-sex marriage indefinitely in California.
You may be right in terms of our Constitution, and that's why I did Proposition 1. But let me give you another example. Look at what's being pulled away from health care in our state right now. That's huge. The two biggest drivers of affordability for everyday people is housing and health care.
What the governor did well, you think, is redistricting.
I do.
Any missteps?
As you brought up, as former Speaker and leader of the Senate, obviously this governor has vetoed a number of our bills, including some of my own. We've had some of the toughest discussions around budget and legislation. A priority for me is health care, and I think additional support for primary care clinics I would have liked to see, and that didn't happen, even though there were options and opportunities.
Well, Julie moderated the California's Governor Forum last week, hosted by APAPA and Sacramento State. You can watch that full forum on KPIX.com. Still ahead at 5, meet a Bay Area artist who uses cars as his canvas. We're going to show you the work that's a tribute to both his community and his culture.
Straight ahead in sports, in wake of the weekend, the WNBA made it official today with a Valkyrie star player and Victory Monday again for the 49ers. And it's QB2, the #1 guy in the Bayou Sunday.
New options for those living with menopause, the possible answer to hot flashes and sleepless nights.
And it started as a search for community, but ended up being so much more. Our Eye on America shows how help can come in any form. That's tonight on the CBS Evening News.
Okay, well, look at that. Aston Martin's making some high-end wheels for its smallest riders. The British luxury automaker is collaborating with a child car seat brand to create an upscale baby stroller. It is built to resemble Aston Martin's car seats. It will come in 3 colors. The stroller has features for both protection and comfort, including a sunroof canopy and a 5-position handlebar. They'll be available in select markets later this year. Starting price just around $3,000 for a baby.
That's a little much. But
that's a lot.
It's to each their own. I don't know if you've ever seen The Office, but it reminds me of that episode of The Office where he tries to destroy the baby stroller. I want to see how durable that baby stroller is. For $3,000, it better be.
It's built to last.
It better be.
It is built to last.
You gotta hope. But outside, I don't know how built to last we are going to be if you spend the day outside, because it's hot out there. You can see this huge area of high pressure just by the lack of cloud coverage across the entire state of California and basically the western half of the United States. There is a little bit of that fog that's sitting along the coast that is keeping our temperatures slightly more comfortable, at least across the southernmost part of the Bay Area. Again, it's not necessarily comfortable. It's just slightly warmer than yesterday. Again, temperatures today, these were our high temperatures. Coastal communities, this is where you could escape the heat in the upper 60s to low 70s. But downtown San Francisco, we got to 85 degrees. That was easily our hottest day of 2025 and our hottest day in nearly a year. Inland areas, you got into the 90s today, but by tomorrow, it is only going to get hotter and hotter. Tomorrow afternoon's high temperatures are likely going to get to the upper 90s across our inland East Bay communities, mid to lower 90s down into the Santa Clara Valley and for areas by the Bay. Upper 80s to low 90s across our North Bay communities. And along the coast, it's actually going to be a degree or two warmer once again in the low 70s, while San Francisco will still be right on the edge of that 80-degree mark tomorrow. So another day of this excessive heat in our inland communities on Wednesday. It's actually going to stay just as hot, if not a degree or two hotter on Wednesday across those inland East Bay communities. Once again, hovering right on the edge of that triple-digit mark. 99 degrees from Livermore up to Fairfield and including Antioch. In fact, Fairfield might actually reach that triple-digit mark on Wednesday, still sitting in the mid-90s down into the Santa Clara Valley and low 90s across our North Bay. This is the third day of heat across the inland communities, but you'll notice along the coast and for areas at least in the direct path of the Golden Gate, it is going to be a little bit cooler starting Wednesday as those winds are going to begin to pick up ahead of our next storm system. That's going to allow these temperatures to come crashing down by as soon as Thursday. So there's going to be quite a lot of changes on the way over the next several days. And one of the reasons is because of a storm system that's currently sitting off the coast of the Baja Peninsula. This is Tropical Storm Mario. It is going to continue to weaken as it heads north into cooler waters, but that moisture is still likely going to ride up the western coast of the United States and finally arrive across the Bay Area starting on Thursday. So again, it's going to be a lot cooler and a lot cloudier starting Thursday, which is honestly really great news. There is also the slight potential of rain to head our way, although you definitely notice a lot of that moisture kind of fizzles out as it moves over land. But an isolated shower or two Thursday and into Friday is definitely possible. But what's also possible is dry lightning. So our fire danger is actually going to increase Thursday and into Friday as the storm moves overhead, because if no rain falls from the system and just thunderstorms are produced, there is going to be, again, that increased potential of wildfires sparking from those dry lightning storms. So again, that is something we're going to keep a very close eye on. That will be Thursday and into Friday. Up until then, though, heat safety is definitely going to be top of mind, although temperatures are cooling down slightly across the Bay Area compared to what they were earlier today, still in the 90s across our inland communities, and they're going to stay just as warm, if not hotter, into tomorrow. Again, upper 90s going to stick around through Wednesday, dropping by about 10 degrees into Thursday and continuing to cool down Friday as that storm moves overhead. And then a gradual warm-up heads right back our way by next weekend. So there's a roller coaster ride on the way when it comes to these temperatures. Very hot over the next several days, cooling down Thursday and Friday, and then warming back up. That is going to be the same trend all across the Bay Area, from our inland communities even to the coast. So downtown San Francisco, it's going to stay very hot tomorrow, cooling down slightly by Wednesday, and then cooling down even more into Thursday and Friday. Although you do notice those temperatures, the average is 70 degrees, and it's likely going to stay at or above that average mark at least for the next 7 days. So while our inland areas are going to be seeing about a 10-degree cool down from Wednesday into Thursday, closer to our coastal communities, that cool down is not going to be nearly as impressive. It will be closer to maybe 5 degrees along the coast. So those temperatures, if you do live along our coastal communities, enjoy them, enjoy the mid-70s, enjoy a few more peaks of sunshine tomorrow and into Wednesday before cooler, cloudier weather and windier weather arrives Thursday and Friday, along with the potential for a few rain showers, which, fingers crossed, we actually can squeeze some rain out of that system. Over to you, Jules.
All right, Zoe, thanks so much. Coming up at 6 o'clock, a mental health helpline. It's in limbo, and now people are being forced to slash 2/3 of its workforce. How the organization behind the critical mental health resource is now scrambling to keep it up and running. Plus, a new UC Berkeley study reveals just how valuable the 5 feet all the way around your house is in preventing fire damage. And call it the ride of a lifetime. Ooh, look at this. We take a look at the latest sport making waves, get it, in San Francisco. All that coming up at 6 in about 10 minutes, but let's get to my amazing buddy Vern for a look at sports.
KPIX Sports is powered by Kia. Learn more at kia.com. Kia, movement that inspires.
NFL up top in the 2-0 49ers. Skeptics expected the team to struggle yesterday against the Saints without Brock Purdy and George Kittle. But here's what quarterback Mac Jones thought about that theory. In his first start with San Francisco, Jones threw for 279 yards and a career-tying 3 touchdowns in the win over New Orleans. The 5-year veteran admitted to having pre-game jitters until a pep talk from veteran offensive lineman Trent Williams.
Like Trent came up to me, he's like, "You're good, dude, just go out there and hoop." And I was like, "I got you, I can go hoop." And then once he said that, I was like, "All right, let's play ball." So that was kind of cool. If Trent Williams can say that, then I can do it. So that kind of just got me calmed down a little bit.
He's just fun energy. To have a backup quarterback who has that much swagger, the offense feeds off of it.
WNBA and the Valkyries as they prep to host a must-win first playoff game against the Lynx on Wednesday in San Jose. The league pretty much revealed what the team already knew about their point guard.
Name the teammate that should be MIP this year. Veronica Burton, VB, my PG.
Well, Mo Billings, it's official. Burton today was named the WNBA's most improved player. Near unanimous, she received 68 of the 72 votes. Burton played every game and averaged nearly 12 points and 6 assists after, get this, averaging 3 points and 2 assists with Connecticut last season. Baseball, the Giants' playoff push is going through Arizona. At the Diamondbacks tonight, 13 games left in the season. The G-men are a game and a half behind the Mets for that last wild card spot. And the D-backs, well, they sit right behind San Francisco. Jumping into this postseason drive, the Giants called up prospect Bryce Eldridge, and he is in the starting lineup tonight in Phoenix. The 2023 first-round pick hit 25 home runs, drove in 84 runs in the minors this season, and at 20 years old, Eldridge has become the youngest player to play for San Francisco since Madison Bumgarner in 2010. Golf on Sunday, world's #1 Scottie Scheffler won the PGA Tour's stop at Silverado in Napa for his first career win in the state of California. One downside to yesterday's round was that the Dallas resident missed the Cowboys' thrilling 40-27 overtime win over the New York Giants.
I was pretty clued into the Cowboys game today before we were teeing off, and last I saw we were punting it away with 2.5 minutes left in overtime, and last I heard we won. I heard that from numerous people out there on the course, so if they were lying to me, I'm going to be kind of pissed. But I'm going to be there telling the truth.
All right, Cowboys win 40-37. Look, he's got 6 PGA wins this season. He's earned over $27.5 million in 2025 alone. Scotty, we're not feeling sorry for you, man.
We should strive to be so poor. Right, Vern?
Tell me about it.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Vern. Up next, we're going to meet a Bay Area man who turns lowriders into works of art.
This is where we are standing up and show the art in our culture, our indigenous roots.
Why he says his work is a showcase for all his community has to offer. Oh, we're counting down the days of the big Lowrider parade in San Francisco. And ahead of this weekend's festivities, we're shining a spotlight on the culture. And tonight, we're looking at the art. Suji Nam introduces us to the artist who uses those metal machines as his own personal canvas.
The rhythmic hum of the airbrush machine fills the air. As Eric Avalos, a lowrider mural artist, works out of his shop in Hayward.
The background is going to be the Golden Gate.
Precision is key. Each stroke of his airbrush brings these details to life.
Like this one, it takes like a week, 2 weeks to do just the airbrushing.
His journey as a lowrider mural artist began about 15 years ago. Avalos traded his chef's apron and kitchen utensils for some painting supplies and a blank canvas.
I started in my garage like way back in the days.
And for the past 5 years, he's been painting lowriders showcased in the San Francisco Lowrider Parade.
It's over 100 cars. Like every single car is like I say, is different. There's patterns. You're gonna see a lot of cars over there at the parade in the city. So it's gonna be a lot of my work right there.
Avalos believes lowriders are more than just cars. They bring people together to celebrate community and culture.
You can play with it. You can load the front and then be riding with the front end all the way up.
It's like music to his ears.
This is the car they bring me business because that was the first car I did like I said 15 years ago.
And we paint cars, it comes from your heart, your soul, your mind, and it tells a story.
Roberto Hernandez, the founder of the San Francisco Lowrider Council, is looking forward to this year's parade and the message they hope to send.
With all the war that's going against immigrant Latinos, and the bad things that are being said about us, this is where we are standing up and show the art in our culture, our indigenous roots.
And for Avalos, he's making the final touches on these lowriders that will soon be rolling down Mission Street.
My favorite part is when they take our cars to the shows and then winning trophies.
But for Avalos, the best trophy of it all is the reward of seeing everyone's smiles from the joy that art brings.
And we'll continue to bring you the stories at the heart of lowrider culture, all leading up to our coverage of San Francisco's Lowrider Parade. It will be the first time a lowrider parade has been televised start to finish. You can catch it this Saturday, September 20th, beginning at 1 p.m. on KPIX Plus. Well, that's it for the news at 5.